the participants.
It's time to wake up, Mahela.
With decades of precision comes a partnership between man and technology, pushing boundaries in the pursuit of staying well connected. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Pahan Ratnayake, and I would like to welcome all of you to the second day of the Road to INSL 2022. We are proud to tell you that the first session of the Road to INSL 2022 was successfully concluded yesterday with a really good participation and also a lot of positive feedback, which has encouraged our INSL family in providing you with the best. Although we are aware that you all are eagerly waiting for today's session to start, I would like to give you a summary of our Road to INSL 2022 program. The Road to INSL is a 3-day training program focused on setting off the entrepreneurial spark in you. This series of workshops upskill the applicants with all the basic techniques from finding an investable and innovative idea to implementing it. The topics which are covered on the Road to INSL program are, on the day 1, welcome to the ecosystem and delve into design thinking, which was concluded yesterday. On the day 2, how to develop a business model canvas. On the day 3, market stratagems and learn how to pitch, Innovation Nation competition, and the application guide. So to start off the proceedings for the day, I would like to invite Program Team Lead of INSL 2022, Mr. Singha Silva, to formally welcome all of you.
Thank you, Pahan. Thank you, Pahan, for that introduction. So I'm really sorry that I couldn't turn on the camera, but let me speak. So good evening to all of you. Thank you all so much for investing your time in the Road to INSL training program, which is organized just for you all. First, I would like to warmly welcome all of you to the second session of the Road to INSL 2022 training program. It's nice to have you all here. Today, we will be having an amazing session on business model canvas and taking a closer look at how and why it works so well. So now I would warmly welcome our speaker for the evening, Ms. Anjana Kulasekara, CEO, CareerMe, and Head of Careers 360. It's an honor for us to have you as our speakers tonight, and thank you for accepting our invitation, supporting us, and being with us here today amidst all your busy schedules. And also, I would like to welcome all the advisors, mentors, representatives of young professionals in Sri Lanka, and also all the special guests who joined us today with the Road to INSL training program. It's such a pleasure to have you all here today. And finally, I would like to welcome all the participants from the enthusiastic teams of INSL 2022 and all the individuals as well who joined us today. Hope you all will gain the best out of the session. With that, we will start the day 2 of Road to INSL, and there will be one more day to go where and tomorrow. We will be going through the Innovation Nation application, which will be the next step of your INSL journey. So hope you will enjoy the session and get the very best out of this session. So thank you, and hope to see your excitement throughout the session. Pahan, over to you again.
Thank you, Singha. Here at Innovation Nation Sri Lanka, we have well-established support systems to provide guidance and financial assistance for applicants, along with some other perks. To give you a better understanding of how we work, we have prepared a short video for you. So today's session will be mainly focusing on the business model canvas, which is an excellent tool for helping you understand a business model precisely. It aids in explaining to customers why they should do business with you. You will be learning about the various essential elements of the business canvas model, such as who are your major partners, suppliers, what are the key activities do your value proposition require, what essential assets do your value proposition demand? Moreover, how does it support organizational innovation? To guide our audience on how to develop this business canvas model, and also to give you a clear idea about the earlier mentioned facts, we have with us Ms. Anjana Kulasekara, the founder of CareerMe and the head of Career 360, has graciously accepted our invitation to share her expertise on the field. We have made available a Slido link in the chat for the participants to voice out any of your questions regarding today's content, which will then be answered at the end of the Q&A session. Any INSL competition related questions will be answered in the final day of the Road to INSL program. So without further ado, I would like to invite and to hand over the session to Ms. Anjana Kulasekara to guide you on how to develop a business canvas model. Ms. Anjana.
Thank you, Pahan. Great. Thank you for that warm introduction and for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here. Let me, first of all, just share my screen. Is that visible?
Yes, Ms. Anjana.
All right, great. So thank you again for inviting me, and I was tasked with the topic of how to develop a business model canvas. I'll do this in such a way where I will share my own experiences so that everyone here can get some sort of practical understanding of how it is and how I want to structure today's conversation. And I say conversation because I don't just want to speak, I want to hear from the participants as well. I don't by any means mean to be an expert in business model canvas, but let me share with you my practical understanding of this. And where I get my practical exposure actually is to give a brief about myself. So I was working in Singapore for a while. And from Singapore, I came down to Sri Lanka and I was thinking about doing my own startup. And from there onwards, I was really looking at what can I do? Like, I want to do my own startup, but what can I do, right? And I was looking into different areas of problems, like, okay, what do I think I can address? And something that really stood out for me was that when students leave school, we really have no idea what to do in terms of our career. There's minimal guidance on what to do and how to structure our roadmap. Do I want to do a job? Do I want to start my own business? And there was really no information. And that was, in a sense, bad for us individually, because we take so much time and we are investing. Our parents are investing money into certain degrees, certain programs. So we want to make sure that whatever we are putting our time into is the right path we want to go down. So that was individually. And at the same time, in the business environment, a lot of companies were saying, look, I have jobs. I just can't find the right people with the right skills. So this is what I saw. And I thought, okay, let me try and address this as a problem. And that's how CareerMe came into being, which is a career guidance platform, a digital career guidance platform. Because while there was policy initiatives to support students, there was really nothing to help on a digital level in all three languages, where someone from Jaffna to someone from Gaul can get proper career guidance. So that was how I initially started CareerMe, and that's where my entrepreneurial journey began. So those are the experiences I will draw in for today's particular session. Give me a second, guys. My power cut just went out. It's a power cut. Please give me 2 minutes.
Sure, Ms. Sanjay.
Sorry about that, guys.
No problem, Ms. Sanjay. No.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course. Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Sorry, it's the things we have to deal with. Right. So that's what I was saying, in the sense that is the experience that I will draw in to kind of conduct today's session. Okay, superb. So to give you a brief about, before I go into the whole concept of a business model, when I first started CareerMe, I really didn't even think of a business model or like go into the technicals of it. So I think number one everyone who is exposed to this is at a great advantage. Because when I initially started, I was just having an idea, okay, let me do it. Let me do, just have a startup, but I didn't really have a proper plan. And I ran into a lot of trouble because the moment you go out into the market and you start talking to people, people have questions about the sustainability of your business or your idea or what you want to do. And a lot of what happened for me was I learned things along the way. But what I found is if you can actually apply this business canvas model right from the start, you have an advantage because you have a very clear picture of your business, right? So I gave you a small introduction of my background so you will understand where I'm coming from with my inputs and my experiences. So hope everything is clear so far. I understand that questions will be asked in the chat later on. But if at all that you have any questions right now, feel free to stop me and ask me. Okay. First things first, what is a business model? And I know this question gets thrown around a lot, but the basic idea is that it is a plan. It is a very high level plan for the successful operation of a business. It's very simple. When we start a business, we want to make sure it is successful. And, you know, businesses are unique. So you can't just copy paste the business model of one company and think, oh, I can use this. There is no one size fits all. Because let's take, for example, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a recruitment platform. And at the same time, we are doing a recruitment platform called Careers 360. In essence, they are both recruitment platforms, but I cannot use LinkedIn's business model for a local Sri Lankan recruitment platform because there are so many things that are different, right? And in this business model that we're going to talk about today, there are 9 key components, right? So we're going to look at it one by one. And one thing I really want to highlight is having a business model makes it easy for you to understand the full operational side of your business and what you need to do to make it profitable. And it gives you focus. And lastly, it shows you the connections that you need to make. One thing I can say from personal experience is that once you start to run your own business, things are happening at high speed. And sometimes you don't even have time to think. You need to act. And if you do not act strategically, you might be wasting time. So if you have a business model canvas right from the start, you kind of have a roadmap. It's like a blueprint. It doesn't mean that you have to do exactly as it is, because one thing with startup culture is you have to adapt. You have to be able to pivot and change your business really fast. But this is a starting point, just so that you do not get confused when there's so much things happening. If you start something, you have to look at marketing, you have to look at finance, you have to look at operations, you have to keep good in touch with your clients. So this helps you to understand what is the most important thing, right? So what are these 9 components? Number 1, your value proposition. Now, I'm going to go into the details of this in a little bit because value proposition is the most important thing in your business canvas model, because all of the other components are going to be based on this value proposition. If you do not know what your value proposition is, right, you will face problems. I think a good example that I came across was Kodak. Kodak, I think their initial value proposition was that they were in the business of making cameras, but they are not, right? Actually, They were in the business of capturing moments, memories, right? So, because there's nothing so much as a camera business. So we had to be very clear on what the value you're giving to a customer is. Next, we have customer segments, the channels you're going to reach these customers, customer relationships, and the revenue streams. Everything in blue is basically something related to the market or the customer angle. Then from the business angle, we have key resources or assets that you need for your company, key activities, key partnerships, and the cost that will incur to run your business. So these are the main 9 components of your business model. Right. Let's look at the first one, which is the value proposition, and the most important. And I say it is the most important because it will be your guiding light. Let's say you started your business or you have an idea and now there are so many things to do. And one thing as an entrepreneur you have to do is you need to prioritize what to do because you have so little time, right? And if you're very clear on what your value proposition is, then you know, okay, where and what to prioritize. For example, in CareerMe, one of the key things I was looking at was to help students all over the island understand how to transition from studies to work, right? And one of the things I wanted was for this to be island wide. And since that was something that I had as a main concern, one thing I prioritized was to make sure that our website was in all 3 languages, right? So there were a lot of other things to do, but then this is something I prioritized because I thought, okay, this supports my value proposition, right? So that is just a very simple example that I can give you. So what is value proposition, right? To put very simply, you can put it in this way. Why do people want to buy what you have to sell? Like, what creates value to your customers or your intended customers, right? And I think a lot of people face the problem that sometimes we come up with great technology. Maybe we say we want to use blockchain or cryptocurrencies or something very high tech, and we want to build a product. But you have to question, is this solving a customer's need or a problem? And usually what I have seen is that sometimes these needs or problems can be more emotional even, right? So you are not trying to sell your technology, you're trying to show that there's a certain value you're creating because you're addressing a need or a problem. It is even better if it is a need, because that is higher up the scale even compared to a problem, right? So that is the most important thing you have to consider whenever you're coming up with an idea, a product, or a service. What is the value? Like, why would people buy this, right? So a good example, and I will keep coming back to this because this is what I can refer to, right? When it comes to career guidance, right? I saw a problem where that students find it difficult to transition from school to work because they do not get enough guidance, right? But when I went to market, what I found was that a lot of people don't see career guidance as a need. Rather, it's almost like a luxury, and people sometimes don't understand what is career guidance. So there I faced a problem on communicating my value proposition. So this is something simple, an example that I can show you. And what we learn is that the primary purpose of a business is to create value and to capture it. That is the primary purpose of a business. So if you are coming up with an entrepreneurial idea, product, or service, you need to look at what is the value, the added value that I am creating, right? Let's say something very simple like selling cakes online. There are so many retailers online. If you go on Instagram, if you go on like Facebook, there are so many businesses selling cakes. So what's so different about you? Like, why should someone come and buy from you? I might as well go to the other person and get a cake. It's a cake at the end of the day. So you need to see what is the value creation you're bringing into the market, right? So this specific term, value proposition, in your business classes, also there's a technical way that we look at value proposition. Let me just walk you through that as well. Okay. So we have on screen something you call a value stick. Now I've kept it empty, but I want to take you through this step by step, right? So this is the technical meaning of creating value or the value proposition, right? Let's say you have a product or a service, and right at that top, you have the price, the maximum price that customers are willing to pay. Okay, so this is the highest value a customer is willing to pay. Let's take an iPhone, right? An iPhone is priced at, let's say, $100. But you as a customer, because you know of its value or you are really attracted to the brand and you think you're a very loyal customer and you think its designs are good, its reliability is good, its ecosystem is good. So actually, maybe you're willing to pay around 150, but the product is priced at 100. So that 100 is the price, which we call the customer price, which the firm is selling that at, right? But you're actually willing to even pay 150, right? And then below that of this stick, we have something called the supplier price. So if Apple is the company, they have a cost to build this iPhone, which is called the supplier price, where the materials that they get from the suppliers come at a certain cost, and they have to make sure that they pay the supplier a certain price. Let's say the material to build the iPhone costs around 50. So that is the amount that they are paying for their suppliers. And then right at the bottom, you have the minimum value that suppliers are actually willing to sell the supplies at. Let's say the supplier is actually willing, the minimum value is 25, but Apple is buying from the suppliers at 50. Okay. So what you have right at the top, the difference between the willingness, the maximum amount the customer is willing to pay, and the actual price of the product is the buyer's value, right? And then right at the bottom, where the minimum value the supplier is willing to sell and the actual price that we buy from the supplier is the supplier's value. And in between, where we have the price that we sell the product and the price we get the product from the suppliers, is the value captured by this firm. So when we are talking about value proposition, we are actually looking at how we can increase this value stick. So this total value created is the willingness the customer is willing to pay, subtracted by the minimum cost the supplier wants. So the customer and the supplier's difference. So that's what you call the total value created. So if you're bringing in a certain service or a product that can improve this, let's say you are making a certain modification to the iPhone, a certain feature, and now the customers are willing to pay, instead of 150, they're actually willing to pay 200, right? So that there is a value creation there, because now the difference is higher between the willingness to pay from the customer and the willingness to sell from the supplier side. So that's how technically, if you look at it, the value creation is observed from a technical angle. So this is something maybe a little too much perhaps for this particular forum, but I thought of sharing this because when I actually got to know about it, I thought, okay, so there's actually a way to measure value creation, right? And you can see, okay, this is how I can capture the value for the company. This is how the customers get the value. This is how the suppliers get to get the value. Because at the end of the day, we want to create a win-win situation. So if you're interested, do go and check a bit more about this concept of a value stick. I gave a very high level understanding. I think we can go into this detail a lot, getting examples, getting the differences, how this value creation changes, and one thing I've learned is also when we create the value, we have to be very strategic of it. We have to manage customer expectations. We do not want customers to be so delighted by, let's say, the current version of the iPhone. And the next version you put out, maybe you only do a few changes and then they're not happy anymore. So then the willingness to pay might actually come down. So this is where you need to be very strategic about how you manage the value you create. But that is actually step 2. The first step is to understand what is the value you're creating, what is the problem you're trying to address. So let's say we come back to that scenario of a cake business. Maybe the value you're trying to create is that you're saying, I am finding it very difficult to build custom cakes. There are so many people just selling cakes, but very few people selling custom cakes at a low cost. So that's my value creation. I'm going to give custom cakes at a low cost. So there's a difference now. There's a value being created. And that's where you need to be very clear on your value proposition. It is even better if it is addressing a problem or a need of the people. Because at the end of the day, your technology is not your value proposition. That is something that will support your value proposition. Right. So I hope the concept of a value proposition is, somewhat, you got an idea of it. You really need to start thinking and looking at problems in a certain way, because there are so many problems, there are so many needs out in society. But sometimes we just look at it, we observe it, and we do nothing. The way to be a little entrepreneurial is for you to look at this problem and think, okay, is there a solution I can bring? Is there a service? Is there a product? Is there something I can do? So the first thing when you go down this entrepreneurial path is to look at, why do people want to buy what you have to sell? What does it do to your customers? Does it create value? Does it make them happier? It can be something very simple. And I think the simple things have sometimes the biggest impact. So we have to really break it down. Do not try to think, oh, it's so complicated, I don't know how to build the value proposition. But think if you were the customer, what would you think, right? So this is step number 1 of your business canvas model, which is to understand what is your value proposition. The next step is to understand, who are you selling this to? Who are your customers? And these are the people that you are creating value for. Why would they come and buy from you? So you can actually go into details here. Let's say I come back to my thing of CareerMe. My customer segments mainly were youth, right? So I can look at the demographics, I can look at the age range, I can be like, okay, it's island wide because I'm trying to give everything trilingual. So it's not like situated to Colombo. It's anyone who is transitioning from studies into work. So you can break down your customer segments. And that's important because when you start something, you need a focus area. You can't be scattered. There's only so much energy, there's only so much resources you have. So you have to be like, okay, I'm going to start here. This is the focus area. These are the customers I'm going to target, because these are the people who will get the direct value benefit. So that's customer segment. Then we have channels. And by channels, we are talking about distribution channels. Great. Let's say you have created a fantastic product or a fantastic service. How are you going to share that with your customers? Are you going to use like like a retail mechanism? Are you going to use online, a platform, a mobile app? Like, are you using a physical location to get in touch with your customers? Is there going to be a brick and mortar shop where people can come and buy your product? Or is there an online service where they can call? How are people going to access that product or service you have built? So it's a very basic thing. Like, let's say you want pizza tonight. How are you going to get your pizza? You know, are you going to call a hotline and say, please deliver to my home? Are you going to go onto a website and, you know, order online? So these are your channels. So the pizza shop has made those channels available to you as a customer, because now you can access and get that product. So those are the channels, and you need to think about. It's just very practical things that you need to have a very clear idea on. Sometimes, you know, these are not rocket science. It's just that having it on paper helps when you get into the whole messiness of running a business. Then we have, on the fourth side, customer relationship. This is basically looking at how do you get customers, right? Then how do you keep them? And then lastly, how do you grow your customer relationships? So sometimes you can say, oh, I'm going to get customers by marketing and, you know, social media marketing. Maybe I do some, you know, influencers to come and do this. Maybe I put some newspaper advertisements. Then how am I going to keep the customers? Maybe I'll call them once a month, see if they have any needs, you know, and how are you going to grow and build your customer base? Maybe I'm going to introduce more innovative features. Maybe I'm going to, you know, partner with another company and give other services that I cannot give, you know. So different things you have to look at, like, how do I build my customer relationships? And I do have to say, you know, on day one, you will not have all the answers. Most likely this model, this canvas might be blank even to a certain extent. But what matters is that you're thinking about it and you're putting it on paper, so that anytime you can come and look at it and be like, okay, when I started this idea, this is what I was thinking. And this is how things have changed, you know? So it gives you a very clear view. And then we come to the important side of your revenue streams. How are you going to make money from the value that you're providing to your customers? So number one, if you understand the value you're providing, then you also know how to price your product. Pricing is also a challenge. But if you understand the value you're providing, let's say you're providing a service that no one in Sri Lanka is providing, then you're exclusive. Then you have the chance to maybe price it a little higher, right? So what are the avenues to make money? Are you going to go for like a subscription model? Are you just going to go for like a retail model? Are you going to give like a free access to all of your services, and then later on you're hoping people will come on to a paid service? So this is what you need to be very clear on your revenue streams. And this is something that I struggled with. When I first started CareerMe, I thought, okay, I will make people coming for consultations, for career guidance as the main source of revenue. But then what I found out was that was insufficient. And actually, most of my revenue later on was through trainings that we did for students, for teacher trainings and career guidance teachers at schools, at different organizations. So workshops, programs that we designed. So later on was I had to change my revenue model. I initially thought, oh, I can get it from here. But when I started the business, I realized, oh, I can't. It's not going to work. So I had to change. But you need to have at least a basic idea, and that will help you understand, okay, what needs to change, what is going to work, what is not working. And that's where the business model actually comes in to help. Right, so all of this is on the customer side or the market side of things. Now we are coming into the sort of the operational or the product side of things. Key resources. Key resources means, what do you need to create this value? What are the assets do you need? Let's say you want to run a digital marketing company. So what are the assets you need? You need people. You need people who properly understand social media, who understand how to write advertising campaigns, right? Let's say you want to run a bakery. You need maybe ovens, you need the physical objects, you need utilities, you need maybe cooks, chef, you need ingredients. So what are the key assets that you need to build your product or services? And this is important. Like, let's say gas, if you're running a restaurant, LP gas is an essential resource, right? So if you have your business canvas model and you know these are the key assets, then you also have the ability, you also can do some risk mitigation. I mean, we never know how things might change, but then okay, this is essential for me to run my business. I need this. I need good people. I need good human capital, talent, if I'm going to do this business to such an extent. So you are ready. The whole point of this business canvas is you know your business very well, and you know what will help you make a profit, and you know what will make you make a loss, right? Once you know your key assets, then you must look at the key activities. What are the things you have to be an expert at? What are the things you need to perform superb? Because that is what is going to support in your value creation, right? Let's say it is building custom cakes, then you need people who can build custom cakes, who have that uh, pastry, the cooking capabilities. If you want to run, let's say, a manufacturing plant, what are the key activities you need? You need labor, right? So you need to understand, in whatever idea or whatever product service that you're thinking of building, what are the key activities? It can be maybe very simple things, but you need to write it down, because you understand, if this doesn't happen, my business is going to fail. That's pretty much it. Then we have key partnerships and suppliers. So these are important because they are going to support your business. Let's say you are a manufacturer. You need to know who your suppliers are and what are you getting from them, right? And how will they help you? Now, your partnerships are something where you have to look at how will they add value, or how will they help you in your business, okay? And the partnerships can change from in the very start to a couple of years down, because your strategies will change. So this will be an evolving thing. But it is important because at the end of the day, whatever product or service that we provide is coming from a supplier, right? So we need to understand who our key suppliers are. Which brings us to the last component of our business canvas model, which is the cost structure. What does it really cost to operate your business? Sometimes there are hidden costs, but just start by thinking, okay, number one, I need to pay salaries. Number two, I need to, like, let's say again, you're doing like a cooking business, you need to get ingredients. Then number three, utilities. I have to pay rent, I have to pay electricity, I have to pay water, all of that. And maybe if you're doing deliveries, maybe you have to pay for transportation. So all of that, just write down how much it takes to actually operate your business, because those values are important. And sometimes, I face this, and I never even knew about the business canvas model when I started, so I never thought about it. But numbers is important. Understanding your expected expenses, your expected revenue is important, because that is how you can make decisions. At the end of the day, if you want to run a business, if you want to build a startup, you need to understand how much money you're going to make and how much it is going to cost you, right? And that difference is where you can make your money. So this is the basic idea of a business canvas model. Let's just walk through some examples. You have an idea. Let's take LinkedIn. And I took LinkedIn because I am in the career space, career guidance, recruitment, all of that. So if you look at LinkedIn, right in the middle, their value proposition is create a professional network online and build your own brand. So they are helping individuals to build their brand, their professional brand online. That is their value proposition, right? And they're helping companies to find ideal candidates. That is their value proposition. So these are the things you need to look at. They are not saying they're going to give you a platform that has machine learning, that has all kinds of features and functionalities. They're not saying they're giving you a mobile app. That is not their value proposition. Their value proposition is, I'm going to help you build your professional brand. Do you see the difference that you're creating? Right. Then you have customer segments. So their customer segments are professionals, recruiters. Recruiters means companies, advertisers, right? Their channels, they're going to use their website, they're going to use their mobile app to reach their customers. Their customer relationship, they're going to use direct and indirect network effects, customer service, self-service. And how are they going to earn their money? They're going to have subscription plans. They're going to have pay-per-click job posting, where you pay for the job you post. They're going to have different marketing solutions. So they have very clear revenue streams. Then we flip onto the other side. Okay, what are the key resources they need to maintain? They need to maintain their platform, right? Which means that look into hosting. They have to make sure this is a stable, reliable platform, because if that fails, this whole product, the value that they're proposing fails, right? Then we look at key activities. Marketing. Marketing is a key activity. If people don't know that this exists, they will never come onto this, right? Platform development and maintenance. This platform is holding everything. So making sure this platform runs smoothly is a key activity for them. Who are their partners? Their developers. Microsoft is owner. So these are key partners. Then cost structures. Sales and marketing team, development and maintenance. Their in-house team that is used to develop and maintain this. So this is like a very basic high-level thing. I mean, there's so many more details you can go into, but this is a starting point. So even if you have an idea or a business, thing you want to do, just put it out there, just write it down. You can start by yourself, and doesn't mean you will cover everything. One of the things in running your own company or being an entrepreneur is you can't wait for things to be perfect. It will never be perfect. You need to just take what information you have. You need to talk to people. So once you create this, what I would advise you is to sit down with someone else and run through this. Talk to them, get their feedback. You can get a lot of feedback and opinions, but of course, at the end of the day, if you are the owner of this idea, if you are the product owner or you are the one with the idea, you need to have a very good understanding of the in and out of your business. You need to understand what will help you make a profit and what will make you make a loss, right? And so this is a business model canvas example that I can basically show you. And something that I think I can share from personal experience is, this is good not just from a business point of view, but especially in Sri Lanka, if you're trying to do your own thing, one of the most important things is getting your family support. It really goes a long way because it gives you mental support, it gives you that moral support to really go that extra mile, and family support is important. And something I've heard some other entrepreneurs say is, especially in Sri Lanka, sometimes convincing your parents that to be an entrepreneur is difficult because they would rather, you do a proper job and, have some stability and all of that. So having something like a business model canvas would be a good way to convince someone that, look, I have really thought about this. I have really thought how I can make this business a success. And I also have thought about what would make this a failure. And if it is going to be a failure, I know when to exit, right? So because some people I know have actually done presentations to their parents to be like, I know this, I can do this, to convince them. So this is how important a business model canvas can be. It gives you information, but at the end of the day, you need to convince people. Let's say parents are number one, or you need to convince your investors, or you need to convince your clients. And they can ask any questions, they can ask you, okay, what's your cost today? How are you planning to expand your market? And if you have done something like this, you have that ground level understanding. So at any point, you are confident to answer these questions, right? So let's see the time we have. Okay, let's just run through like a very simple business model, like how we would do it. And I took a baking business as an example, right? Let's say I want to open a cake shop, and I'm going to go with my initial idea that I'm going to build custom cakes at a low price, right? It's not a huge problem and it's not a huge need, but there is sort of a niche, let's say, where people are still struggling to get custom cakes at a low price. So that's the value proposition I want to put, right? So who are my customer segments? It's the general public, people who go for, anyone basically. And then on the other side, we have like restaurants who want custom cakes done for events, So these are the rough customer segments I thought. And by no means is this, the exact thing, but I'm showing you how we can go about doing things. Channels. So maybe you can go retail, maybe home delivery, maybe through social media, people can contact you and order and get your cake. How are you going to maintain your customer relationship? Self-service, networking, making sure that people are in contact. Something. Revenue streams. You're going to sell it at shops, direct sales. Maybe you're going to put it on Uber Eats. Maybe you can, again, social media, and you have your different levels of pricing that you will have for these different platforms that you're selling. Key resources. You definitely need people. You need to look at getting ingredients, because especially if you're going to put it at a low price, getting ingredients at a low price is going to be important for you. So you need to then look at, okay, if my value proposition is selling custom cakes at a low price, then I need to make sure I have the right assets that I can give things at a low price, right? Which brings us to the key activities. Custom designs. You need to be able to give good custom designs. So providing custom designs is going to be a key activity for you. And let's say that's a key activity, then a key resource is going to be having people who can make custom designs, right? And if you're going to sell it at low price, one of the key activities is your procurement. You need to be able to procure, you need to be able to find suppliers who can give the right ingredients at the right price for you, right? Key partners. So your key partners will be your suppliers who will give you the ingredients, the retails, the shops where you might display your custom cakes, all of that. Your cost structures would be your utility costs, your rent, electricity, all of that, your labor costs, And there might be other, these are just very rough high level things that I'm showing you on how you can go about building your business canvas model. And that's pretty much how you would go about it. So I think the last thing I want to say is, when you look at the difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman, entrepreneurs are looking at innovative ideas. So they're always looking at the problems, the things that society needs. And a good entrepreneur, there's no such thing. I mean, you can't really say, but one thing, if you want to be an entrepreneur, is you have to be very innovative. You can't just observe things, but you have to observe and think, okay, can I bring a solution to this? And if I do bring a solution, is it a viable business? Because sometimes you can have ideas, but is it a viable business? And that's where the business canvas model comes into play. And entrepreneurship, of course, takes high risk, right? And it is because of this risk taking aspect of entrepreneurship that it is good to use tools like the business canvas model, where you can plan and mitigate risk where possible. And then on the flip side, of course, you have the businessman who will go with a traditional idea and generate profits through a simple a difference in the prices. And I think a good example is like someone selling bananas. They will get it from the farmer for, like, let's say 10 rupees, and they sell it, the same banana, in Colombo for 20 rupees. That's a businessman. But let's say you are an entrepreneur, you buy bananas from a farmer for 10 rupees, but then you make banana juice and you add in different flavors, like banana juice with watermelon or banana juice with, I don't know, vitamins, and you sell it as a value added product. So there is the entrepreneurial, the innovative thinking that comes into play. So basically, those are the main things that I actually wanted to highlight in the business model canvas. And now I would like to open the floor for questions. I hope you found this a useful session. And yeah, back to you, Fahan.
Thank you for that illuminating session, Ms. Kulasekara. I think we can all agree it was a very informative session with proper guidance that certainly addressed all the doubts of our audience regarding the business canvas model. So now that we are done with today's session, it's time to get your curiosity satisfied. Please feel free to raise any questions you need to be answered and any doubts that need clarification on developing a business canvas model via the Slido link provided in the chat. If you have any questions, please. So, Ms. Kulasekara, there are a few questions. May I ask them?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. The first question is, what's the difference between a business plan and the business model canvas? I will repeat it again. What's the difference between a business plan and the business model canvas?
Right. So I think you can go into the technicalities of it. But what I see is that the business model canvas is like a snapshot. It's in one page. You can see that full summarized high level version of it. While in a business plan, you might go into way more detail and it comes in the form of a report. So you have to really go into the nitty-gritties of it. You might have to, put in the proper figures in and really boil down into, who are the team members, what are you going to do, what are your revenue projections, how do you plan to achieve these projections, what is your plan, your marketing initiatives. So the business plan might go into far more detail, while the business model canvas is rather a snapshot, a very high level, quick look at, okay, this is what will be needed to make my business operationally successful.
Okay, hope you got the answer for that. The next question is, why isn't there a building block for competition, problems, or measurements?
For the competition, is it?
Excuse me?
The question was, why isn't there a building block for competition?
Yeah, why isn't there a building block for competition, problems, or measurements?
Right. So that is something you need to consider. But in the business model, it is very much looking inward into your own operation, your own company. So your competition, the other problems you might face from your competitors is sort of an external view. It is relevant, right? But this is sort of a starting point. You start by looking at your own operations first, right? And then you can factor in your competition. But when you come up with your value proposition, this is anyways influenced by your competitors, because when you are coming up with a value proposition, you need to be aware of what is happening in the marketplace already. So there is a direct influence there, but we don't have a specific building block that you can take separately. But for this business model, we are looking at your own company, your inward operations.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, madam, does the layout of the building block matter?
So this is, I think, if you are a creative individual, feel free to, change the layout. At the end of the day, the point is that it is easy for you to read and see and understand the key elements. So if you want to, change the way the whole canvas is laid, that is entirely up to you. There's no restriction there. As long as you are meeting the point of building that business canvas model, which is to understand how you can run your business operations successfully. So the canvas model itself, the placements, these are arbitrary. You can change it as you wish. But in a sense, it is right now structured in a way so that one side is looking at the market and the other side is looking at the product, your own operation side of things.
So, Miss, the next question is, do we need CRM software during the initial stages of a startup?
No, I don't think so, because at the very initial state of a startup, you need to keep your cost low as much as possible. Of course, I mean, if you have access to like a free CRM or something like that, then by all means, go for it. But you need to see, is this a priority for me to run my business? Like, is there a solution where I can do it without a CRM, right? So what I personally think is you will need a CRM a little later on, but right at the very initial state, this will not be a necessity. But if you have access to it, go for it by all means, but it is not a necessity right at the start.
Okay, the next question is, do we have to adapt the business model as a whole or just one element?
So the business model, I mean, it'll also depend on the industry or the area that you're trying to get your business going in. And if you're asking adapting like the key elements, I mean, the way this is structured is that it is applicable across industries, but you would have the best information, the best idea about the industry you are operating in. And I think as entrepreneurs, we need to be open for innovation. So if you think, okay, this particular element is not really contributing to me understanding how my business should operate successfully, then you can look to adapt. But essentially, for the most part, this is a sort of a standard that you can use across industries. If you want to adapt it, you can. There is no restriction, but make sure it is a relevant adaptation to whichever product or service that you are considering.
The next question is, how LinkedIn usage is important for professionals?
I would say it is very important. Like, let's say at the end of the day, we are we need to brand ourselves. Self-branding is important. Self-marketing is important. One thing I see is that in Sri Lanka, especially, there is a lot of talent, but we are not marketing ourselves properly. So for professionals, getting on LinkedIn is actually very important. And that's also kind of the reason why I am involved in this new venture called Careers 360, because we want to help Sri Lankan talent to brand them to foreign companies, foreign employers. So for professionals, what I see is, LinkedIn is important because you're showing the world, look, I'm available, I'm here to work. And you need to show people what you can do. And you need to use every opportunity to market yourself. Either, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be doing a job, but if you want to be reachable, one of the new things with the way the world is changing is sometimes you don't even have to apply for positions. People are looking for talent, right? So you need to be available, you need to be reachable if you want to work. So that's why for professionals, it is important that you get on platforms like LinkedIn or Careers 360 and make yourself visible to people.
Okay, Vish, the next question is, can we use this model to grow on social media, YouTube or Facebook? I mean, something like branding.
Okay, that's a good question. So that's, I think, referring more like to a marketing plan, though, right? I think there are other models you can use for marketing plans, but uh, customer segments, yeah, I mean, in a sense, yes, you could adapt it if you want to see, okay, how do I push it to as a marketing initiative, like how do I capture my audience, but you'll have to tweak it a bit, so that little things are very much focused on that particular element. But yeah, I think something that we need to be open for is that we also don't get stuck in a box. If you have an idea, if you think, oh, like this is a tool that I could use for this, go for it, try it out and see.
Okay, the next question is, what is the best way to contact foreign and local investors to raise money for startup?
Okay. If you're going for, so actually there are investors. It's a matter of you connecting with the right communities. And I think one of the best things, okay, if you're looking at, let's say, local investors, it is to get involved in communities that are openly and actively promoting startups and entrepreneurs. Like, let's say, from ICTA to SASCOM to Hatch to, there are different entities, and they usually have communities built in. You need to go and get involved. And when you start talking to people and they think, oh my God, like, Pahan was saying something, this like an idea. I think there's a good person, who get connected. So the thing is, in Sri Lanka, there's LAN as well. Uh, we don't have very established structures to really connect to local investors, but there are. And one of the ways that you need to do is by connecting with communities. And one thing is that then you get access to local investors. And two, you also get confidence. You are moving with the same crowd. So the same problems that you have, loads of people are having it. So you feel like a sense of, okay, I can do this. For foreign investors, there are a bunch of platforms that you can go, from angel investing to different competitions. And it is really good if you can look at the industries you can focus on. Like, let's say for IT tech, there are very specific hackathons, competitions that are happening globally. And also, like, let's say agricultural sector, because people are promoting agricultural tech, then there are different forums or different competitions that are going to promote agricultural tech. And then investors, like, let's say, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they are looking into agri-tech. Then they are investors you can approach. So you need to first look at, okay, what is your industry? Then you need to do some research on the internet. Okay, who are the main people who are promoting startups? You need to do some keyword searches and really then get things in. One thing is, of course, then there are very popular investors out there that we have that are very popular and well known, you can go and see if they are currently investing in certain areas, and if you think that you are fitting the bill, drop an email, just reach out to them. There's no harm, right? The worst thing they can say is I'm not interested, so that's all right. But if they say you're interested, like, wow, so that's all the luck to you, right? So there is a strategy to attracting investors as well. And it comes with not just, a blindly looking, like, expecting suddenly someone will come and say, look, there's a investor out there for you. There's a strategy you need to build for it. One is build your community. So even when you're not looking, someone else is looking for you. They will remember and they will connect with you. The second thing is you need to know your area, so you can do your own research and build like a hit list. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, these are like potential investors, and then look at maybe very well like businessmen or business women who are doing very well in certain countries, who might share a passion for what you do, you know and you can reach out to them and showcase your story, showcase your business plan or your business model, tell them that you really thought about it. So those are three avenues that I think people can look at. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Miss Anjana. With that, we can wrap up the Q&A session for the day. So, Miss Anjana Kulasekara, thank you once again for sparing your valuable time and presenting us with one of the most valuable gifts that we could receive, the gift of knowledge. So please accept this digital token of appreciation prepared for you by INSL 2022.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Anjana. So with that, we would like to share an insightful video from our national partner, ICTA. Hope you will enjoy. So thank you. Dear participants, we have posted the link to a feedback form in the chat. So please make sure to leave your feedback regarding today's session. Once again, there is a feedback form. Please make sure to leave your feedback regarding today's session. So the time has come to take the official photograph. We would appreciate it if all the participants could switch on their camera and give us the best smiles for a couple of seconds while our team takes the screenshots. Audience, please switch on your cameras in order to take the photograph. We would really appreciate your presence. Once again, we are reminding all of you to turn on your camera in order to take a photograph so you can see your smiles and everything. Once again, we are reminding all of you to switch on your camera. So I think we'll let the capturing team to do their work. Stand by. Big smiles. Wait till the camera team take their captures. Okay, thank you everyone for your presence and your big smiles. So, it was indeed a great pleasure to have all of you on board, and to express our gratitude, I would like to invite the Vice Chairperson of INSL 2022, Ms. Michelle De Silva, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Hello. Thank you, Pahan. Good evening to all of you. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the Innovation Nation Sri Lanka 2022. Our guest speaker for the day, Ms. Anjana Kulasekara, CEO, CareerMe, and Head of Career 360. We are very much grateful to you for sharing your knowledge on business model canvas. We believe our audience was able to grab a lot from your session. Our warmest gratitude goes to Ms. Christine Pothupitige, Associate Manager, Forums of SLASCOM Sri Lanka, for the immense support given in arranging the contest. We also wish to express our gratitude to Mr. Damika Marasinghe, Chairperson of the IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka, and other representatives of YPSL for being present with us today and for your constant support and guidance throughout the time. To all the team leads and members, thank you for joining us today. We are very much delighted by your presence here with us, and we believe you gain a good insight from this session. We hope to see you all in the tomorrow session as well. Last but not least, Day 2 of the road to INSL would not be successful without the support of our organizing committee, along with the provincial coordinators and university representatives and IEEE student branches. Thank you for your support throughout the session. Once again, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude to each and every one of you. Thank you. Over to you, Pahan.
Thank you, Michelle. That concludes the proceedings for today, and we hope you gain the best out of this session. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience tonight. So we will see you tomorrow at the final session of the Road to INSL 2022 with market stratagems, learn how to pitch, and also guide to fill the Innovation Nation competition application. So good night, everybody. Take care and stay on the edge, for the learning shall never stop. It will only go from here after. Thank you.
Our own little ones running around this house will be so lovely. I think 12 might work.
Oh? Connect multiple devices simultaneously. Internet like a boss. SLT Mobitel Fiber.
But if she doesn't lay eggs, she'll have to go.
UHD quality video streaming. Internet like a boss. SLT Mobitel Fiber.
Alexa, remind me to get some extra GB.
Why add a reminder? I can simply get it for you.
You can do that?
For the first time in Sri Lanka, manage your SLT Mobitel home services with an Alexa device or the app.
Connecting you with the latest tech.
SLT Mobitel, the connection.